Welcome to Perimenopause Hell. This presentation is about probiotics, how probiotics can help you with some of your perimenopausal symptoms, and how to choose a good product. So, what do probiotics do? In your body, you have a mixture of friendly bacteria that help your body to work well, but your body also contains unhealthy bacteria that we call pathogens. Pathogens also include things like yeasts that might overgrow, like Candida, and viruses, and bacteria that cause nasty infections. So sometimes the balance goes wrong. We need the right balance between the friendly bacteria and the pathogens. What you might notice is that after you've had a course of antibiotics, you might get a vaginal yeast infection, as we call it in the UK, Thrush or Candida, and the antibiotics in that case have killed the good bacteria that colonizes your vagina. And so antibiotics can be a real pest. Probiotics can help to replace the good bacteria. You probably don't get the same balance that you had before you took the antibiotics, unfortunately. And so much is being discovered about the human microbiome, as it's called, the various different bacteria that live inside us and help us to function well. But probiotics do help a lot. So they help in the digestive tract in particular. That includes the bowel, of course, as well as your stomach. And they're also very useful for vaginal health. A healthy vagina is slightly acidic and contains lots of friendly lactobacillus bacteria. So if you don't have the right balance of these bacteria in your vagina, it's going to make it really easy for you to get various infections. So that means yeast infections like thrush and bacterial vaginosis. So more about what they do. They're really useful for bloating and stomach problems. In perimenopause, there's all sorts of different manifestations of this that we get, from GERD to just common bloating. And if you're taking hormones, in particular progesterone, that tends to slow down the functioning of your digestive tract too. So they are really useful. One thing to note is that when you start using probiotics, go slow. Maybe find yourself a slightly lower dose product, or if you have one of the more expensive ones that are stronger, take them every other day, not every day. Or if it says take them 3 times a day, only take 1 a day. Just try and go slow with them. Probiotics, like every other kind of medicine, can take some adjusting to. Basically, what you might notice is that they can increase your farting to epic proportions, and they can also give you a bit of stomach ache. So, because they are such a useful medicine, you might find that for the first few days, if you can't go as slowly as you like, or you're still getting symptoms, no matter how slowly you go, you can take a medicine to help with the gas. Something with simethicone in it is the usual kind of thing that you'll find in the pharmacy, and your usual things that you take for tummy ache. I do think that it's good to change the brand of your probiotic every now and again, because they all have different strains of bacteria in, and getting different strains is what it's all about, really. A good variety is the best option. I don't recommend, though, that you use probiotics all of the time. I think a classic example is using them for a month or two after you've taken a course of antibiotics, just to replenish the good bacteria in your body. You expect that bacteria to colonize your gut and take up residence there. You don't expect to be constantly needing to import bacteria into your body. That's not really how it's supposed to work. So how to find a good probiotic? There's millions, of course, on Amazon and so on. The 2 things that you really need to take note of are the number of different strains in that product. So if a product's only got a couple of different strains, it's not really worth it. And usually they're the ones that are a bit cheaper. You also need to look at the number of bacteria that are in that product. And so, of course, this one says 50 billion. That seems to be good. When just compare with the other ones that you see, and you'll get a feeling for how potent this particular product is. Of course, I have pointed out that potency is not always a good thing if you're very sensitive to the effect of probiotics. It might actually do you better to find a slightly weaker product to start with, and then you can work your way up to something stronger like this. But anyway, so the more the better when you're finding a probiotic. The higher the number of strains, the higher number of bacteria is what you're looking for. Other things that you might notice are something like this on the pack that says it's enhanced with inulin. Inulin is what's called a prebiotic, so it's something that goes with the probiotic bacteria that helps it to thrive in your gut. So this says it's enhanced with inulin, and you're probably wanting to know what exactly is a prebiotic. So prebiotics are a special food for the probiotic bacteria that you're taking. So it's a bit like sending your good bacteria into your body with a backpack containing a packed lunch for it. So the aim is to colonize your gut, these bacteria that you're taking, and you want them to feel happy and welcome. So you're giving them some food so that they can grow and reproduce and feel happy in your gut. That's the aim, that these bacteria are going to breed and fill up your gut with friendly bacteria, you see. Not just that you keep taking pills with them in. So some of these probiotic products now come with a prebiotic included, but you can eat probiotic foods instead if you like. And of course, many of these products don't always come with the prebiotic. So if you want to be successful at using your probiotics, this is kind of essential. You might want to eat something before you take your probiotic, for example, bananas, apples, barley, or oats. And that gives those bacteria something to eat, and they can start reproducing and filling up your gut with good bacteria. So, something that I just wanted to add in here, there's quite a unique probiotic that can be very useful for diarrhea. I'm adding it in here because I can never remember how to spell it when I'm trying to advise people in the group. I assume that it's pronounced something like Saccharomyces boulardii. It's not really like any of the other probiotics. It's very specifically for treating diarrhea. So if you travel a lot, this is actually ideal to take with you, because the change of water or diet and so on can lead to traveller's diarrhea, and this will get rid of it. No problemo. I have a very large American Akita dog of 55 kilos, and he has a really sensitive stomach. So you can imagine what happens if we have to change his food and so on. He has to have all the sensitive diet products, and I actually give him these and it sorts him out absolutely fine. So if they help him, they will help you, no problem. So people who have systemic Candida, they have yeast growing inside of them. This is something that's become rather a trend to talk about, but I've experienced it myself, so I do know that this is something that is true. I actually developed a systemic mastitis when I was breastfeeding, because after my C-section I had 2 courses of antibiotics to get rid of an infection. And the only thing that got rid of it, really, apart from taking the actual medicine to kill off the yeast, was probiotics afterwards. And still now, if I eat too much sugar or something, I get a recurrence of the symptoms in my breasts. So if you have that problem with your breasts, by the way, what you'll notice is there's a really deep internal itching. I notice a few women in the group have this kind of problem, and probiotics are really helpful to get rid of that. You probably will already know, if you suspect that you have systemic yeast problems, what the symptoms of that are. Obviously, vaginal infections and gastrointestinal problems are part of that. Taking probiotics on their own can help you to get rid of the yeast, but most likely you're going to need to take other steps too. At first, you will need to completely eliminate sugar and carbohydrates from your diet for a while. I don't think it's healthy to do no carb permanently. What you will also maybe need to do is add other supplements to kill off the yeast too. Coconut oil is very antifungal, so it's useful in many ways, in terms of also being the type of lubricant you might want to use if you're very susceptible to vaginal yeast. Caprylic acid is another thing that's actually derived from coconut oil and is antifungal. Then there are things like oregano oil and olive leaf extract. And there are fermented foods like sauerkraut and all sorts of different things that are good to include in your diet. But once again, I'm going to add go slow, because if you try and do all these things at once, you can actually experience something called a Herxheimer reaction, where the yeast in you really takes offense to being attacked. I mean, you're starving it of all its food and stuff. So then, you can have some very, very bad reactions. So just try to introduce these things slowly. For example, start taking the probiotics. Then after a while, try to adjust your diet so there's less sugar. Try to eliminate the carbs. Go very slow. A few weeks after that, you can add something like the caprylic acid. These supplements that are antifungal, you need to switch those around so that the yeast doesn't get used to one particular supplement too. Some of the fermented foods can cause more problems than they solve. Some people do appear to be really sensitive to them. That's because things like kefir actually have yeasts in them as well as friendly bacteria. So, just be very, very gentle with yourself. Add in things one at a time so you know if something's causing you side effects, exactly what it is. I'm going to talk about eliminating vaginal Candida, which in the UK we call thrush, and other countries just refer to it as having a vaginal yeast infection. Now, I'm not the sort of person who's going to say that I think you can beat yeast without using any pharmaceutical products. I just don't think that's possible. So, as a woman, what's available to you in your local pharmacies, whether that's Monistat or Canesten or the new tablets that claim to be able to eliminate yeast. I'm not sure those work brilliantly. As I've said myself, I have used some of those, but generally I've taken prescribed products that are used over a number of days, not just the big horse pill that you take one dose and it's supposed to get rid of all your candida. I'm not really convinced they work. But anyway, yes, treat the yeast infection first. Treat it in the vagina. So using those products that you put in the vagina. Then a few days after that, so that you've got no residue left of the products for treating the yeast, start to use vaginal probiotics. The oral probiotics, the tablets and stuff, really help, I think, but they don't help as much as the ones that you put into your vagina. I found these really effective because you're putting the friendly bacteria exactly where they're needed. They don't have to go all the way through your digestive system and somehow magically find your vagina. So I find these a really great product. And what you should be able to do is just use these vaginal probiotic products once in a while, whether it's once a week or once every 2 weeks. Eventually, you should be able to keep the problem away by just using these products every now and again. And I've found that I used to have problems with recurrent infections, and I just don't have that anymore because I have at my disposal all of these products. So they're really great. We've had some great advances in what's available to us. So what you're going to need is something like this, which is a vaginal probiotic. And yes, just to keep repeating this, a lot of women are used to the idea of probiotics that you take by mouth as pills and so on, or eating natural yogurt and all that kind of thing. But this is a product you use in your vagina. It can be either a large insert that you have to put into your vagina and it melts, or it can be a gel or a cream. This one's available in the UK. There are products that are available in America, and they're usually available on Amazon. You can search for them. You just have to be careful that you are actually buying something that is for vaginal use, not to be taken by mouth. That can be quite confusing because when you search for probiotics, the pills come up as well. If you're a member of our group and you go to the old-fashioned file that we have about different products, you will find underneath different ones for different countries. So if you don't have access to Canis Flor, then you'll find a different product that will help you mentioned there. So this is the vaginal probiotic. This here, Balance Active, was marketed as a treatment for bacterial vaginosis. And basically what it is a prebiotic. And what it does is it rebalances the pH level of your vagina. So it makes it slightly acidic, which is the ideal pH for all those friendly bacteria that you already have in your vagina to live in. And basically, when the pH is correct, those bacteria, the friendly bacteria that you want, start to breed and colonize your vagina, and everything's nice and healthy then. And the bad bacteria that cause bacterial vaginosis just die because they can't compete with the numbers of healthy bacteria. This is an excellent product. And in perimenopause, with all the different things going on with hormone imbalance, and we can't avoid that, it's part of the natural process. Restoring your healthy pH levels from time to time is something that's really useful. You may not have bacterial vaginosis, like BV smells like fish. It's a very unpleasant smell, and you might notice it gets worse after a period or after you have sex. Some women just have chronic infections with BV, either at a low level or, so that it gets worse at certain times. And these do a really excellent job of keeping it at bay. You may also notice that in perimenopause you have various different smells and odours. This is because all the different friendly bacteria in your body are reacting badly to the hormone changes. And so things, including your vagina, start to smell different. And that this is a very good way of restoring your natural odour, even if you don't have BV. These are some other products. I've used this particular one on the left. It's got more of a herbal kind of aspect to it. So it does have the lactobacillus probiotic in it, but it also has other things. It smells a bit strange, but the smell's gone after a couple of days. And once again, it does seem to keep the yeast at bay. You may only have to use one once a month. They do work. A lot of women swear by boric acid. I've never used this myself. I have used borax soaks externally for my lichen sclerosis, so I do know that basically the principle is sound. I've never used it myself. I'm not sure I'd want to use something that has the word acid afterwards. But as I've said, we are basically looking at a slightly acidic, healthy environment when it comes to our vaginas. They are supposed to be slightly acidic. So that's the end of this particular presentation. If you found it useful, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. The link to the group is always in the description box below the videos, so you can come and join us on Facebook if you like. Thanks for watching. Cheerio!